Today's video is simple. We're going to be discussing what are the best fights that Islam Makhachev could have at 170 pounds, the division that he just became the champion of. That's actually a pretty surreal photo there. That's a screenshot I actually took from the broadcast, too, of him with both of the belts over his shoulders. I like that picture a lot. And if you could reach back into the memory banks, try to imagine the sounds that he was making whenever he first got the mic placed in front of him after the two belts got put on his shoulders. That's a very human reaction. I don't know about you guys, but myself personally, if I had accomplished something so great, I might actually get on the mic and just go, and then start talking. Whatever I had to say afterwards would be prefaced by just inhuman grunting noises because of sheer pride and gratitude for the moment that I'm currently living in. Okay, so we're going to be going through all the different contenders at welterweight, placing them on this list first, and then we'll talk about extraneous champions from the past, or even fighters up different divisions or down below in different divisions, and ranking them based off of how they would do in a fight against Islam Makhachev. So let's go ahead and fill out Get Smashed first. All the fighters that I feel have no chance against Islam Makhachev. Alright, Jeff Neal, no shot. 0 shot, Jeff Neal. Daniel Rodriguez, nothing there either. Not a chance, my brother. That guy was getting out grappled by, like, Kelvin Gastelum. He stays there. He goes in that spot. Colby Covington, absolutely mauled by Islam Makhachev. It's not close. I know what you're talking about. Well, Colby's a grappler too. No, bro. That guy actually gets knocked out on the feet by Islam, dude. Buckley, he'll put up a fight, but I think he'll still lose. Just because there is a rift in skill in his grappling that we saw between him and Usman, which would be even deeper of a rift between him and Islam Makhachev. He would get handled on the ground. But in moments where he could make a difference in the stand-up, he would at least go for it, because in the Usman fight, he did try to make something happen on the feet. It just wasn't enough. Leon Edwards gets smashed. Apparently, there was training footage, like, at AKA, whenever Islam Makhachev first got to America, his first sparring was with Leon Edwards, and he dealt with him. I think that's what they're, like, being all secret and hush-hush about, while Leon Edwards was, like, this champion and still a top contender, that he didn't get messed up by Islam Makhachev in training, but, like, that totally happened, and I could totally imagine it going down that way, too. Usman, I would say, has a chance. I wouldn't say wins depending on the night. I would say he has a chance. Likely, the fight goes exactly the way that the fight with Khamzat Chimaev did. It's just a little bit different. Maybe it's a harder fought effort for Islam Makhachev, but I don't think that Usman is in his prime enough to be able to go bend for bend with these young and hungry lions who are just plainly outskilling him, and he doesn't have a physicality advantage over. Usman's wrestling, outside of being like one of these guys from the mountain regions, is about as good as it gets. As far as like American developed wrestling, Usman probably has the best grappling system, but Islam Makhachev is just an entirely different animal. He doesn't have enough threat in the stand-up or power in his hands in order to actually, like, just land a knockout to an open range. I'm not thinking, at least. But his grappling skill would be high enough to at least keep him in the fight so he's not getting subbed. It would largely be a similar performance to what we saw to, like, Jack Della Maddalena if Usman fought with Islam Makhachev. I could totally see it being just more of the same in that regard. All right, Michael Morales, though. Michael Morales, I would say he wins depending on the night. But it would have to be, like, a blessed right or left hand that he lands. It couldn't be just, like, him playing the game of Islam Makhachev and beating him at his own game. It would have to be his specialized approach, which would be using his size to limit distance and staying out of clinches, stuffing shots by keeping distance and lower mid-range guard, not a high one, so that he doesn't get taken down off the cage. Whenever Islam Makhachev changes levels and shoots after drawing him in, he has to still stalk, but he has to be providing meaningful offense to slow down the wrestling entries of Islam Makhachev. And I think he can do it, because against other grapplers, he's been able to do this. And yes, other grapplers and Islam Makhachev are not the same. But unless Garry demonstrates the ability to do the same thing against a grappler in Belal Muhammad, and to keep him honest with the striking, and to put some meaningful offense on him in the stand-up so that he can't wrestle, instead of engaging in the wrestling and either narrowly or not winning the sequences that take place on the ground and then having to wait for the round to end in order to get back to the striking, then I'd put him here as well. This is an interesting video to make before UFC Qatar, because Gary's kind of in the situation where it's like Michael Morales deserves to be number one because he just beat number two, and the ex-title challenger is already scheduled to fight with Garry before there was another ex-title challenger post UFC 322. everyone will just be taking one step back in the rankings because whenever the new ones come out the Tuesday after a champion loses his belt, he's always placed at the number 1 contender. So tomorrow we should see Belal Muhammad at number 2, Michael Morales at number 3 if he does take Sean Brady's spot. He deserves a shot. But if Ian Garry comes out and he knocks out Belal Muhammad, then he deserves a shot. Leon Edwards has to do with that. Carlos Prates just got a win over Leon Edwards and he knocked him out. Ian Garry beat Carlos Prates, so it's kind of like he's got that win. Sean Brady's claim to being number 2 was the fact that he choked out Leon Edwards. So Ian Garry should be the guy to get the next title shot if he does beat Belal Muhammad, who all the way up until like the day you're seeing this was the number 1 contender of this division. Gilbert Burns gets heated up by Islam Makhachev and it's not close. He gets smashed. A lot of these guys are just fodder in this division. I'm not going to lie to you. Bonfim gets smashed. It's not enough of a threat in the grappling. You can't just play bottom positions against Islam Makhachev. The only thing that you're going to accomplish off bottom in a fight with Islam Makhachev is just pure survival. You're not going to sub this man off of your back. That is not going down. Way too much pressure, way too much control. A grappler like Gabriel Bonfim, unless he's developed some real deal striking, which, I mean, we didn't really get to see too much of in the Randy Brown fight because it was largely just all leg kicks and then a knee in the clinch, I think that he gets smashed. It's not close. Shavkat Rakhmonov, the glazed Shavkat Rakhmonov, I think he puts up a fight and still loses, dude. I think that people definitely overstate his ability to be successful in a fight against Islam Makhachev. He's not the chosen one in that matchup, I don't think. He's very stationary. And as far as like offense goes, he stands straight up. No head movement out of the guy. The only thing that you could really say about Rakhmonov is that he won't accept bottom position, but it's not really like Jack Della Maddalena was accepting bottom position either. It just kind of happens. In a fight against Islam Makhachev, you end up on your back and you don't get up. If that's what his will is. In the stand-up, it might be a little bit more competitive or a bit more challenging for Islam because of the range of Shavkat, but all roads lead to Rome, dude. I think that he's just going to get smudged. And a guy like that who was seriously threatened by Ian Garry on the ground, I think it's absolutely handled by Islam Makhachev, who is someone who I implicitly understand to be a lot stronger and even more technical on the ground than Ian Garry. And Ian Garry's already really good there, as he's displayed in the past, and will likely continue to display that he is. Speaking of Ian Garry, I would say that Ian Garry has a chance whenever all things are considered. I would put Michael Morales ahead of Ian Garry in terms of having a chance to beat Islam Makhachev on the basis of the power that Michael Morales possesses in the striking threat. This dude's not even throwing like form punches, and that's something that may actually work for him in a fight against Islam Makhachev in pocket exchanges. The fact that he's so non-conventional with his striking, there's like a wider surface area that you have to keep yourself safe from against the striking of Michael Morales because he's literally just windmilling his arms at you whenever he does smell blood in the water. Ian Garry is one of those guys who likes to be polished, keep it technical on the feet. And I've said this on numerous other occasions before. His game is to beat you on the basis of technical skill. And I don't think that anybody in this division, as we're talking right now, is more technically skilled than Islam Makhachev. So that will likely land him in trouble trying to take that approach. He could be cleaner on the feet, but if he does end up getting ahead in the striking, he's just going to get taken down by Islam Makhachev. And I think that can totally happen. And if you want to talk about cardio issues, in a 5-round fight, this man almost popped the lung against a cigarette smoker. And that was because his work rate was really high, but I would say that Islam Makhachev does a better job of stamina management across 25 minutes than Ian Garry does. And that could be on the counts of his youth, right? Ian Garry's only 27 years old. But Islam Makhachev has cardio for days at 170 pounds. Belal Muhammad, he puts up a fight and still loses. I think it's just two different levels of grappling as we saw in this last fight. And then as we saw in the fight with Jack Della Maddalena that just involved Islam Makhachev, Belal Muhammad was having to do so much for so little results in his fight against Jack Della Maddalena in terms of getting control he's not even a submission grappler, so that's another thing here. What is he even going to do if he does end up in a dominant position over Islam Makhachev other than just lay on him? His game is the striking, right? And in the stand-up, Islam Makhachev is hitting significantly harder than Belal Muhammad. And Belal Muhammad may have, I guess better volume than Islam Makhachev, but whenever both of their weapons are considered, I would say that Islam Makhachev is a far superior striker to Belal Muhammad. I know you saw that 1-2 head kick, the Robert Whittaker classic, right? The 1-2 head kick that Islam Makhachev fired over the top at Jack Della Maddalena, that he barely changed levels underneath. That could have been curtains right there. A sequence like that would totally land on Belal Muhammad, and he would likely get knocked out by Islam Makhachev, but he has just enough skill and understanding of positions and grappling to keep himself in a fight with Islam, though. Alright, so Prates, I don't know, man. I would place him in has a chance. Because there's a shot that, like, I'm definitely glazing Prates right now, but let me do this for a second. Let me at least explain what I'm trying to, like, say right here. Prates, all he needs is, like, a couple of jabs to feel out range. So if Islam doesn't shoot a takedown immediately against Carlos, which he would definitely do in a fight against him, all Carlos Prates would need to do is literally fire 2 jabs, and then the left hand is right there, and he could serve up Islam Makhachev, like leave him stinky, knock him out. You can do that to anybody in the division, is what I'm driving at. Carlos Prates is at this level of striking to where, like, I couldn't imagine a single fighter on the roster that he couldn't sleep brutally. And that's including our champion as well. It's just his window to do it closes so quickly, but he just has way too many weapons for me to say that he, like, gets smashed. I don't think he does. At least not by default. People talking about Sean Brady versus Islam Makhachev being a good fight. Hell no. Hell no, bro. Sean Brady gets smashed. I don't know why we all started glazing Sean Brady like he was actually about to do something in terms of the title picture in welterweight. That guy cannot strike. His striking is zero. His grappling is really good, but like his wrestling isn't even all there. And it takes him a long time to advance through grappling positions. And until then, he's just smudging people out in the clinch, giving us absolute stinker fights that are super boring to watch. And then he'll get a takedown after the other guy just completely checks out because he doesn't even want to be there anymore because what's happening to him is so homoerotic. And aside from that, this dude's just getting beat up on the feet because he sucks at striking. He has no boxing, no kickboxing. So what do you think he's about to do against Islam Makhachev other than get knocked out and put on a poster? I don't know why we got so high on Sean Brady. I'm not saying like we and myself included because I definitely picked Michael Morales. But just people on the internet who were mean to me about picking Michael Morales and were like, yo, your boy has no chance against Sean Brady. Why did we think that? Why was that like something that was a commonly held position? For the life of me, I'll never understand why people actually believe that Sean Brady was like, he should be fighting for the title, if we're being honest. I saw that take like all over Instagram Reels comment sections, that he should have been the one fighting for the title instead of Islam Makhachev had he not come up to 170, which it's like, Sean Brady being number 2 at welterweight is just further proof that the rankings don't really mean everything. They're not like this be-all, end-all thing, you know? That guy got low diffed by number 8 because he just shouldn't have gotten that high. Next, we have number 15, and like, dude, this dude just gets smashed. This guy was exposed for having low grappling cardio versus Neil Magny. Islam Makhachev would literally put this man through medieval torture, and it wouldn't be close. And now I'm gonna say something that, I mean, like, this is just for a short, right? I'm probably just going to make it short about this. George St. Pierre gets smashed by Islam Makhachev. I hope that we can all be, like, understanding of the fact that, like, talent today is so much higher than it was in his time. Every single welterweight champion since him, you could make the argument that GSP would have been better than a champion like Robbie Lawler or like Tyron Woodley. Those guys would have lost to GSP, but every single welterweight champion since Usman, they would have beat the hell out of GSP, bro. Do you really think that wrestling that he learned whenever he was like 30 years old and then a little bit of karate would be enough to take down a mountain grappler like Islam Makhachev? Even if you were one of the dudes who petitioned that skill set would have been enough to deal with a fighter like Usman, we're to the point now where it's like, anybody who says that GSP would beat Islam Makhachev in a fight prime for prime is just chatting, and they're just stuck in the past. And yeah, granted, he just became champion. He has nowhere near the same amount of accolades as a GSP, but dude, we gotta seriously start analyzing who these people were fighting for their records at some point. We're looking at Ian Garry and Michael Morales go like neck and neck for the next title shot against Islam Makhachev. And that boy GSP was fighting Josh Koscheck, Dan Hardy, Thiago Alves, John Fitch. Bro, get out of here. I don't want to hear anything more about GSP the GOAT, GSP the greatest and most skilled welterweight ever. We're past that. We've graduated past it. GSP is your grandfather's old M1 Garand in the garage that he picks up and starts telling stories about, oh, this is better than the M4s that they're using in the military now. Oh, I swore I could hit a poker card from 8 football fields away with iron sights on this thing. It's just sentimental value. I don't want to hear it anymore. So yeah, that's what we're looking at right now. We got Michael Morales up front. We have Usman, Carlos Prates, and Ian Garry, and has a chance. And the rest of these guys are just kind of there. Shavkat Rakhmonov, I may have been a little bit mean to him in placement of this list, but you guys can take that up with me in the comment section. If you're mean, Oh, I forgot. Oh, my bad, my bad, my bad. How could I have completely forgotten that we have top Toro to discuss, bro? Ilia knocks that man out. Are you serious? Ilia can come in light and knock this man out. Don't, like, let's not play, bro. Ilia Topuria, he put Charles Oliveira in crucifix. This is the can man. This dude has the hands in order to do it. And I've been saying this in a bunch of different comment sections on my Instagram page. Islam Makhachev's style of grappling, a lot of grapplers are like this. They're better at grappling taller opponents. In general, taller opponents are easier to grapple. Whenever you're dealing with a shorter guy, they're more compacted and explosive, so they're able to escape easier. A fighter like Ilia Topuria isn't just going to get wet blanketed by Islam Makhachev without at least advancing to a point where he can space out enough to get up in scrambles. There were no scrambles against Jack Della Maddalena because there was just too much surface area for Islam Makhachev to stick to. Islam Makhachev is sticky and he's very strong. And it's really hard to get him off of you once he's like clinging. Volk being a little midge, it helped him get out of different positions and advance through them. Whenever his back was taken, he was able to break the body triangle and escape back takes on certain occasions. It would be the same thing for Ilia Topuria. And Ilia is a strong little midge, so I think that he's gonna be able to get back to the feet. And he's more powerful. And if we're talking band for band, I think that this man has the same level of power as a Michael Morales. But it's just packaged into like a little body. He could do it. I'll forever rest on the hill that Ilia Topuria is the guy to become the first triple champion in the UFC, and that as good as Islam is, that's actually a decent stylistic matchup for Ilia Topuria to beat. I'm always going to pick Ilia in that fight. I mean, against pretty much anyone, too. All time, Ilia Topuria, like, come on. Oh, whoops. I also capped again, because we do have to place Khamzat Chimaev, too, on this list. He wins with low difficulty, and it's just down to size at that point. Islam Makhachev, he's not big enough to make it up to 185 without, like, coming in light like Ilia Topuria would need to at 170 pounds. And at that point, he's dealing with a guy who's about as technically skilled as he is in the grappling, but will have the added benefit of frame to be able to deal with his skill in wrestling, which is the great equalizer against anyone else, you know? Khamzat Chimaev would equalize his equalizer. So that's the reason why Islam Makhachev is saying things like he won't go up to 185. It's not that he's ducking. It's just that it's not really his job to do that anyways. And Khamzat Chimaev is a horrible matchup for him. At 170, it's even kind of like neck and neck as far as I'm concerned. Because Khamzat Chimaev is a really big welterweight. But at this point, I'm not sure if he can make the cut. I think that's what was like also keeping him sick too. Whenever he wasn't as active. He definitely had COVID and he was like actually sick. But I'm sure weight draining himself the way that he was also not really helping him health-wise. Both of those two fights up at the top, those are real tests for Islam Makhachev. If he's able to win either of those fights in his career before he does retire, I feel like there's not really much you can say about him anyways as things go on the basis of his run at lightweight and the fact that he has 4 title defenses. Even if one of those was Renato Moicano, he's still goated at lightweight, but he's goated like forever if he can beat either one of those fighters up at the top. It would need to be at 170, both of these matchups, but I genuinely think that Khamzat Chimaev likely beats Islam Makhachev easier than Ilia Topuria would do it at 170. But I still think that both of them win with moderate to low difficulty. So that's going to be my list, you guys. Let me know what you think in the comment section. I'm actually very excited for this era of welterweight. Islam Makhachev is a great champion. I'm excited for the fights that he has to put on in the future. I think he's a very likable fighter too. His media and press is always very entertaining for me to watch. I like watching him interact with Khabib and Daniel Cormier too in post-fights. He's a good dude. People like to talk crap on champions like John Jones because they're not good people, they're not family men, and they don't have good values, and they still find a way to hate on Islam Makhachev, who embodies those things to a T. Family, honor, respect, dignity. And people still find a way to rag on these guys and call them inbreds and stuff just because of the leading minds in the space and also because the fan bases of these fighters too. So, I mean, it is what it is, you know. Like, comment, and subscribe. I will have another upload for you guys very soon. Stay tuned.